Episode 23. Before we actually get started, I actually do want to say there are three feelings I have for this episode. One is,
Yes! Yes!
and then the other,
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
and then this one right here. Yeah, you guys pick and choose which one, but if you guys want to know more detail and see if you're correct, just gotta watch the rest of the video. So in the very beginning, we just see this, and full disclosure and maybe little spoilers right here. This is actually a flash forward, and we'll see the scene again later. But right now, in terms of the context for the review, Marrinette actually decides to tell Adrian the whole truth about Gabriel Regress being you-know-who with this letter. And it's basically what I said before. And yeah, my idea onto how Marrinette could actually, do this without actually, breaking his heart theoretically is by telling him the truth as Marrinette, putting everything into Marinette's perspective and how she can comfort him without being like, oh, I'm Ladybug, by the way.
Yes! Yes!
For now, for what she's actually discussing here, it's exactly the same as what I actually suggest those episodes ago when Marrinette first began hiding the secret and felt bad about it. It's a good thing that Marrinette realized that as Marrinette, she can actually tell him the truth without actually breaking the relationship. But you can tell it for her face, it is a pretty heavy heart, because once she does this, it is now up to how she can actually explain this as Ladybug. It's going to be hard for her. We do get to see a pretty cool montage, a very short one, her traveling to Adrian's house, and ready to tell him the truth. But the intro kind of stops there as we get to the actual episode proper. Now, I'm going to say this. The starting the episode at the school cafeteria and it seems like everything I saw from Midori is just like a full 180 into what the freaking intro actually showed us. But yeah, as I said before, if you haven't really noticed and actually get the point across later in this episode, later in the episode you'll notice a lot of things. And yeah, you realize that the intro you've been watching was basically just a flash forward. Don't worry, let's get to it now. As in this cafeteria, you see Anansi, or should I say Nora, of course. And of course, she does have a cook partner, and the cook partner is called Twig. Twig is a shy guy. They both work in the kitchen, the school cafeteria, for a decent amount of time, and it's been implied that at least for Marrinette, Alia, Nino, and Adrian, they all notice that these two have perfect chemistry together, and they feel like they might actually be a pretty good couple. Now, it's mostly thanks to Twig. Twig really likes her, kind of usually staring at her affectionately, just in the background while Nora's not really watching. As for Nora couldn't really stop talking or thinking about him sometimes, according to Alia. Now, if you cannot guess, these two have not confessed anytime soon. Is basically that typical, love scenario. I'm just gonna say, well, I'm gonna play the clip again so you guys know where I'm actually with this.
It should have been me, not him!
So their plan right now is to basically get these two together, kind of. As Alia actually explained that Nora is going to Shanghai soon to learn cook fu. Now, cook fu is like kung food in a way, but I guess you could call it cook foods because you don't want to do too much repeating that, but it could have been good reference back to season 1. But yeah, she's gonna be learning under the watch of Uncle Wong, which is Marinette's uncle, master chef of cook fu, which is surprising to say the least. So we know where Nora's going, but it's only be a few days. And they really want Twig and Nora to confess their feelings, as they haven't really done that much discussing in terms of their love for each other, just normal stuff around. But we'll see an explanation why Nora really hasn't really said anything, because we know why Twig doesn't. He's too shy. So they actually planned kind of want to do this, getting these two together, confessing, all that stuff. Marrinette has a plan, making a game of proof, proof or fib. It's like an icebreaker type of game, so to speak. They use Nino's hat. This is what Nino's hair actually now looks like. It looks really normal. It's a little uncanny, honestly, but I cannot really fault it because for the most part, everybody's hair does have more details and you can see the single strands of hair sometimes. It's kind of weird for Nino because he always has the hat, but it looks nice. So while Marrinette told basically, them how to play the game, as when Nora's actually a little iffy what they're doing, just kind of annoyed that they're just kind of being a little loud. I'll just say that for now. Marrinette says it's a game and asks if she wants to play. She said no, but like, oh, this is a game from Shanghai. I'm like, go talk me. She's lying, right? But it's something that had to pique interest for Nora, so she actually decides to play it. Just gotta say, for Nora, we see a lot we see a lot of shots from her from behind, which is, to be honest, is like, I feel like the animators wanted to show us like how much muscle definition she actually has, and to be honest, I don't exactly mind. But yeah, it's a lot. I don't know if Disney, just like the previous team that worked on Miraculous from season 5 and before, I don't know if they know what they're doing. They definitely know what they're doing. But also, I remember her clothes specifically being less shiny than before. I don't know. But to be honest, her legs and her arms are really defined. Like, yeah. Kind of miss that she doesn't exactly have the bulk that she had beforehand, but I guess some muscle definition is actually pretty good too. Here's a neat little lore thing. Apparently, Aya and Nora, while sisters, are technically half-sisters. They don't share the same father, apparently. So this either means that Nora was adopted or Aya was adopted. And in short, it seems that Aya was adopted, but it could be Nora. It's still up in the air, but they're half-sisters. Aya's family is more like the Ruby and Yang's family for some freaking reason. I don't know if they're trying to pull that off or not. Of course, Marrinette, just like maybe with the rest of the audience watching, are pretty surprised by this. If you're wondering how Twig got here, Marrinette did say earlier, when Nora was interested, that they needed even amount of players, so Twig had to be there. And of course, you know how it went out. And I forgot to have to mention this while Marrinette mixed up a bit of more rules. Whoever has the ear will be able to listen and then see if they actually, tell the truth or not. Just deciding for themselves. The one who has the lips would have to speak at least something that is a false, true or false thing, or the truth. I was gonna say a lie. I don't know why I say false for like whatever reason, but it actually went pretty well, surprisingly. Twig realized he has the mouthpiece, so he talks. But good thing for him, he actually found the courage to actually, tell his truth. Okay, to be honest, Marrinette, while a little bit like a typical Marrinette, pep talk, which is a little annoying, it actually was enough to help Twig. So, Marrinette is very supportive. She actually pretty much gives like a good pep talk to Twig of saying stuff. I'm surprised that Nora didn't really get annoyed here. She seemed to be pretty easily annoyed by Marrinette, but let's forget about that. He, when he said that, when I said that he actually got the courage, he definitely really actually leaned on towards that. Nora was actually pretty surprised about Twig saying this, and it kind of confirms her own feelings, meaning that Nora does have feelings for Twig in that way as well, although she just doesn't want to admit it. And this is where the part I would say, before I move on, they made Nora a tsundere, which is a bit weird because with her last ex-boyfriend, while toxic, she was actually pretty much open-minded and was pretty much just like a normal couple things. She never really showed any traits of like, trying to be this tough person and doesn't exactly like them all that much, just like them as a friend and stuff like that, but trying to hide the feeling that they love them. This is that type of like cliche for anime. Disney going through this path for her, it kind of works, but at the same time, it is technically a inconsistency that she doesn't actually show something like this. But then again, we don't know how she felt with her ex. But then again, her ex, which was pretty toxic, did actually have the same energy as her. So it's hard to tell, honestly. But Marrinette, being a little annoying, was technically now just kind of forcing Nora to actually like say something as she switched her piece to a mouthpiece now. Marrinette was a bit annoying. She was trying to do this on the fly. I'm surprised these two hadn't really figured out anything yet or just kind of questioning anything. But it seems like it was a good moment. But I kind of wish Marrinette gave them a moment because this was a bit too rushed and Nora is very flustered. Once both of them realized they both got a little too close to each other because
It's not fair!
Nora started to lean in as well, they kind of just get both flustered. And while Twig was actually pretty okay and just wants to know if Nora actually felt the same, Nora is still acting that tsundere part where she's just trying to hide the fact that about her true feelings, even though she kind of already showed them out as the truth for the game, but she's still trying to hide it. That type of dynamic. I forgot to mention that here's a little neat character lore for Nino. Nino is afraid of cotton candy because it looks suspicious because it has no face. A lot of Marrinette and Adrian were just very confused, but Aya kind of knows this. It is a bit weird, but but it's just real cotton candy. The picture that Aya made was just like a little just to make a little fun at him, teasing him a bit. Nino knows that I know this is fake. Yeah. It is kind of funny though that Nino is afraid of cotton candy. But it's just kind of a weird fear, honestly. Later on, Adrian tries to ask Marrinette if she actually worked on the picture of Gabriel he asked for from episode 22. She said no, and she lied about to him why. Because last night she was taking, a badminton, and now later tonight she will be figure skating. However, Aya later in the next screenshot I'll show you when they're in the bathroom, basically said they were playing video games last night. So why was, she lying to him? And this is the part where I feel like this would be a pretty good time for Marrinette to tell Aya the truth, because unlike the last few times, unlike the last time, right, when Aya knew the truth, it was basically because of the secret bubble from that one villain from earlier this season. Luckily, Aya's memories were erased of that day, thanks to Cat Noir. So, yeah. So, would this still be a good thing for Marrinette to actually explain to Aya? Compared to Luca, it would be better. Luca is technically more level-headed and more reasonable than Aya sometimes. But in terms of actual responsibility, knowing about the responsibilities of being a superhero and all that, and of course Ladybug's secret identity, because she knows, because Marrinette told her, Aya knows about at least the duties of a superhero compared to Luca, who was just kind of there in terms of being a support role, being called when needed. Aya was basically technically the second in command, so she would actually have a better time understanding Ladybug/Marrinette here. Would this really change anything? I would say so, because unlike the other time, which was just caught by surprise and mad that Marrinette basically kept the secret from her, Marrinette could tell her the truth here, and there is a really high likely chance that Aya would actually support her. Although, considering what she did beforehand, there is a good chance that she would actually revert back to losing all trust and hope from her, basically, and why keeping this a secret. But if Marrinette actually told Arya the truth as to because, well, besides, it will be also Natalie who actually wants to hide the truth, this would actually alleviate some blame to her, of course. And for that letter, quickly chalk it up as to blackmail. That's how I feel like it would go out, but Marinette not telling Arya here about the truth, while it does kind of annoy me a bit, it is understandable at this point in time, considering we actually do know what Arya's reaction would most likely be. Now, a lot of people could still be angry that Marinette lied to begin with, but it's the hero's responsibility and juggling it with everyday life. Technically I think the writers are really pulling a variant of one of the punishments that writers usually do for Spider-Man in the comics, and I feel like Marinette is kind of going through that route almost in a kidly version in a way, since this is Disney after all, like the main Disney, not like Disney Marvel. Well, not just explicitly said here, Marinette did kind of just cried, kind of broke down at this point, because this truth that she holds is too much to bear. Something that she already seen outcomes already about what would happen if she did tell the truth, and it's something that she doesn't want anybody to tell. Arya said it one thing, and that's what a lot of people say, that just tell everybody the truth, as it would just be over and done with a lot more easier, and without all this burden, she would be feeling better at the very least. And if she wanted the truth, she would rather hear it from somebody already, even if it hurts her, because she has the right to know, and she hates when people basically keep secrets from her if it was to quote-unquote protect her. Because in her mind, Arya, at the very least, is basically that she doesn't exactly need protection. She can technically handle herself and do her own judgments, but she would rather hear the truth and to see if she can actually help the person if that truth is actually pretty much a big burden and harm to them. While I do think at this point Arya is more reasonable than she would have the last time she realized the truth, I would still think that it's not a good idea. And considering how out of character Arya is throughout this season compared to her previous appearance in the other seasons for her personality, if this was like season 5 or before Arya, she would definitely be the other one where she would be supporting with or without basically being angry to the fact that she actually kept this from Adrian. But currently in season 6, it is most likely while still a decently low chance, it's still a major chance. It's like a 60-40 type of thing if she would actually, go turn on Marrinette. I'm explaining a lot here, but that's just basically a very good discussion to actually have. I do believe that this would have been the best point for Marrinette to tell the truth, but no, Marrinette doesn't. And this will go send Arya down the path of trying to find the truth herself. Now we both have Adrian and Arya trying to chase the truth. Although Adrian has a half-truth anyway, it seems like Arya's now going through that path. And since this is episode 23, we're technically almost close to the end of the season at this point in time of where this episode is landed. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Going back home, Marrinette will try to actually find the courage, or at least the drive, to draw Gabriel the way Adrian wants him to see, as how Adrian knows how people see him. But Marrinette knows the truth, which is, I discussed this beforehand, I think, from the previous review for episode 22. She has a hard time, and all she really needs to draw is the eyes and the mouth. Unfortunately, every time she drew them, it seems incorrect. She's conflicted of showing the truth or a fabricated lie in terms of the drawing for the eyes and the mouth. She actually has a little argument with herself, talking to the picture as if it was Gabriel Gress, while every time she drew Gabriel Gress's face, his eyes and mouth, Gabriel's expression kind of changes to a point where it seems like it's trying to communicate to Marrinette. So in a way, she's projecting basically a variant of Gabriel and trying to discuss what's good and what's not. And it comes to a point where it seems like she's went in a little too deep into her own mind, that she's kind of um going bonkers, in a way going crazy, as later she realized that the picture is now talking to her. It's not because of her powers, of course. It's not like a passive thing. She's in normal Marrinette civilian form here, but yeah, she just starts hallucinating. Now this point is basically something that is just a reminder of what happened from the season finale of season 5, not the Earth Day one, the actual finale, which is like the discussion that Marrinette had told Gabriel, basically saying that they're kind of similar, kind of the same, as they want the best for Adrian. Now that those words are basically turned back on her in this illusion that is in her mind, that basically telling that while they both want good things for Adrian, the Gabriel manifestation in her mind basically tells her that it is best to actually keep the lie, as it would make him happy, at least as the better outcome. But Marrinette doesn't want that, as while Gabriel basically went through the love through lies, Marrinette wants love that is based on the truth and genuine truth, genuine love, not like protective love as Gabriel was trying to do. Now that is actually a pretty good perspective that I didn't exactly actually take into account, as while Gabriel was doing this out of love, what type of love was it really, as love comes through multiple ways and multiple forms. Now Gabriel is basically partly protective love because of that, but we already know throughout, because of his decaying mind, it seems that Gabriel's love is only through basically the need to make his son happy, not because that he wants to actually love Adrian. He just wants a complete family. The love that basically is what he wants for his wife and son, but mostly for himself. Well, Marrinette wants basically a full-on truthful love. That's one that's basically caring on both equal sides. Something that no secrets to hide, nothing, just saying all in the open type of relationship. Now the problem with this that Marrinette knows is the secret identity, although that is not really in her mind just now. That will be a little bit more later, maybe down the line if there is a season 7, and hopefully Disney could actually do something good with the chronological timeline. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting discussion. I do think that this part of the episode should actually be watched at the very least, as it is a conflicting moment, as this hawk moth, this Gabriel Grass that is in her mind, is technically the side of her from technically the previous season, where she actually tells all this to Gabriel, while these words that she said to Gabriel were still true, using it against her. Yeah, it maybe wasn't exactly the best choice of words, but considering that this is what Hawkmoth would have said to her, and I think this is the most accurate representation that Marrinette could give to her Hawkmoth in her mind. But luckily Tiki was able to snap her out of it. Marrinette basically ripped the paper because she was pretty much frustrated, and now because she ripped up the paper, this was a confirmation that she cannot hold this lie anymore. She doesn't care about the blackmailing at this point. What she really wants is what she said to the figment of her imagination, Gabriel, is that she wants honest love, not, protective love. Going back to what Aya basically said, that Aya doesn't really want the protection type of thing, just a trusting thing. Yeah. But there's some trouble happening in Paris right now, and it's Nora. Now, instead of the codename Anansi, it's Sadnansi, and I guess it's technically her name beforehand, but Sadnansi is just sad, but Anansi together, so Sadnansi. But the different thing about it, again, it's Nora akumatized, and she's the Spider Woman again. But I like this design. It's very subtle, but comparing this design to her previous season 3 design for the Kumatized transformation, she doesn't, first off, she doesn't shoot white webs, she shoots golden webs, meaning that she's basically a gold weaver spider. I believe that's what the spider name is. The golden weaver spider, the one that actually produced golden silk anyway in terms of color. And I kind of like it they actually did something with this. Also, a new ability for her is that while she can always shoot webs from her mouth, but the web is also gold, but also kind of turns people basically angry against each other when it shoots at two people basically. But once one web shot is basically enough, as she can just control them from there. So yeah, kind of like mind control, but also kind of makes them to a state of frenzy if not in control. One last thing about the design is that it's kind of funny that they kept the original design philosophy with the original like Anansi, as this is technically the body mass, the same body mass as with the original accumulation she actually has in season 3, which is surprising because Nora is definitely a bit a smidge. Nora's a tad bit smaller than she was in her normal appearance in like season 3. So having her still be in the same height and musculature in this one is a little jarring. Kind of thought they would be scaled, but I like it. It is what it is. Nora, the reason why she's actually doing this rampage is, while it's not because she's angry at Twig, she kind of is anyway in a disintegrate way, but it's more so that love hurts, and it's better if the world doesn't have love, because without love there will be no complicated feelings. Well, that's true to one extent. It's not exactly a good idea. But Marrinette, while doesn't want to give up on love, she does have a point. But Aria basically, Rena Rouge snaps her out of it, and they have to start opening up a fight. You gotta love to see it that both Carapace and Cat Noir actually have much more of screen time in terms of actual fighting.
Yes!
Which is actually pretty good. But it's basically pretty equal on the terms of the beatdown they all kind of got. It's not too bad as it was when Anansi first appeared, but with Sadnansi here, they seem to be a bit more experienced, which is actually pretty good. Also, having Carapace here is actually pretty nice as well, as technically this would be their rematch. Since Marrinette uses a lot of Lucky Charms, she uses one that would actually try to, handle the situation. She got a boxing glove, a reference to the season 3 fight that she had with the same villain, of course. But instead of using the boxing glove as a challenge, she looks at her hands and notices that one hand is actually pretty much closed the entire time. So they devise a plan, and seeing that Twig was already, hypnotized, the plan was to get the boys to distract her, while basically these two devise a plan, using a decoy illusion of Twig, push him off the building, and see if Anansi was actually true to her word that love doesn't really matter. Even though, Sadnansi fought correctly, which it was an illusion to begin with. She basically didn't want to take the chance, so she tried to jump up and save Twig, but all of them were illusions, which made her drop the item that she was holding. A simple cataclysm basically kind of broke the thing, and of course everything was pretty much, alright, as Marrinette basically used MiraculousLadybugs to basically free everybody from the mind control. Apparently the little item was basically I don't know what it was. It is a food. I would say a fruit. With something that small, I would say maybe it was a radish. Not a radish, what am I saying? Turnip? No. It's red. Maybe it's a red radish. I feel like it's a radish. I've seen people calling it a radish before. I just don't remember the name. But either way, yeah, it's pretty much a flower fruit that Twig made. She was basically pretty much flustered, and it kind of just made it harder for her to accept it, as she doesn't really want to say it beforehand. It's been told to us, and I feel like we already noticed. She really likes Twig, but she doesn't know how to say it to him. And once she leaves to Shanghai, she feels hurt because he's not there. That's pretty sweet. We do see a bit of their flashback as to how this all actually turned out and how she actually got akumatized in the first place. Twig told us from his perspective. Well, not exactly his perspective. It's just more so how events actually turned out. I just saw his perspective because he's the one who's telling it, so yeah. But I feel like it is pretty accurate. Of course, Nora in this flashback did say it was the onions, however we've seen, and it was revealed that she was cutting carrots. Not onions. After that all being resolved, Marrinette does see that throughout this whole day, she knows what she actually has to do. It's very subtle, but you can see that a tear did actually stream down her face. Cat Noir did ask her, "Is everything alright?" And she said yes. When she leaves, only Aya was the only one who actually knows what's going to be going on soon. And then we cut back to the very beginning of the episode, and we see the whole sequence again, but this time just a little more extended. It is a tad bit different because I think Marrinette went to his bed, but it kind of changed perspective again, and I don't know if it's just an inconsistency or not. But once Adrian walked up, Marrinette noticed a little froggy that was on his bed, and was actually technically second guessing, but it does seem like she's going to tell him the truth, at least in this point. But she has to kind of break down, tell him that she loves him. And of course, Adrian thought nothing more, but Adrian kind of does know that there was something more to that when she actually said that. So yeah. And the episode sadly kind of ends here. I would say that if there was actually no end credit scene. There is technically a scene before the credits. The episode was over, but we got a post-credit scene technically. I don't know why they keep doing this as the episode ends, but then we have some like extra stuff in behind. Don't know what you call that, like post-episode cutscene or something, post-episode scene, whatever. As you can see, Aya is trying her best to actually use her illusion powers to think of why Marrinette actually kept the secret so much about that day. She tries to use her illusions over and over again, rerunning the process and possibilities as to why would Marrinette, Ladybug, would be so afraid of hiding a truth that, this happened. Gabriel saved Hawkmoth, meaning there's something more deeper into it. And Aya, a detective that she is trying to figure that out. No matter how many times she tries, it doesn't seem right. And the possibility of at the end being that, this happened doesn't really make a lot of sense. This is just one of the possibilities that she came up with her, powers. And that is basically it for the episode. Overall, one thing, I was happy that I was right about the possibility of this happening.
Yes! Yes!
Now, unfortunately, we never actually got to see it to its full conclusion. So I'm only going to be hoping that episode 24 is going to tell us give us a reveal that Marrinette did tell him the truth, and I hope she does at this point, because she did seem like she's locked in for this at the very least. And this does seem like the point where but usually if this was going to be like a change for like, oh, she's just gonna lie to him even more, it is very unlikely, because every time that something like telling the truth happens, but then she kind of just has to lie, is usually in the middle, or at least like 70% of the way through the episode. So This should be the final thing, and she should tell him the truth, hopefully. I just hope for the best that she actually does, because this is just getting really annoying, to be honest. So yeah, I'm pretty happy that this is the conclusion that she actually came to, and it's one that I was adjusting for a pretty long while when watching this season at the very least. Now, for anything upsetting, it's technically also Marionette, and I feel like the problem with Marionette at this one is kind of being, well, it's not exactly the truth or like the telling Adrian the truth or anything like that. It's basically just kind of not letting the moment sink in and try to have fate tell its course, that she's kind of rushing things for it. Luckily for her, this is one of the only few times that it actually works in her favor. Let's just hope that her luck didn't run out later on. Now, as for, Nora and Twig, well, I'll play this clip again. But yeah, I'll be pretty happy for these two, honestly. Like, not gonna lie. It was basically pretty much a tiny bit Nora focus, although I was kind of hoping for a more Nora focus because she is my favorite character in the series, of course, for a side character. But having this actually be a mix with Marionette trying to get her feeling towards, trying to tell Adrian the truth, it's also pretty good as well. It's pretty well done for her thought process, and I do like everything they actually did here. From basically the talk with Alia in the bathroom towards her, crazy ranting with the illusion of Gabriel Gress that was in her mind. I really like those sequences, and it does actually show that the struggle that is in her mind in a way, and knowing the context of basically the rules of this series, that secret identity and all that stuff, but also just the responsibilities of being a hero at the very least in a traditional sense of secret identity and stuff like that, fictional wise. So yeah, I actually do like it that they actually put this much. However, I think I could be biased and I could say like a 9 or 8 out of 10 just because it has Nora in it, of course. But truthfully, this does seem like a 7 out of 10 episode. I've been getting a lot of 7 out of 10s lately, and I think it's just because there are some things in these episodes for the season that kind of just doesn't feel right, or it seems like they actually did mischaracterization. But for this one, it's more of a conflicting feeling as to why it was kind of structured like this. I do get it why that it was kind of structured like this, as the main episode that tells us after the intro is basically the setup as to why Marionette wants to do this right now, out of all times. But at the same time, I kind of wish we had a more dedicated episode as to Marionette finally just telling him the truth one day and then seeing how things play out from there. I feel like that might have happened in season 4, episode 24 later. Only time can tell. It is a much more longer review than last time, and it's because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. And again, in a technical sense, I am right. So let's say yes to that. And that's kind of about it. 7 out of 10 episode, a pretty decent one. Has my favorite character that we barely have mentioned for a while. And just finally right now at the near end of the season, she finally gets a spotlight with a new boyfriend. Now let's just hope that this new boyfriend of hers doesn't, end up the same way as her ex. Or let's also hope that Nora doesn't become toxic to Twig. Let's just hope so. Yeah, my name's Sampo. I'll see you guys next time. I think we're gonna go to episode 19 and then episode 21. And hopefully the last 2 episodes are gonna be the season finale, or maybe just one more additional episode and then the season finale, because usually the seasons are always ending off at a even number. So yeah, let's hope for the best, I guess, for season 6.